Hello and welcome to the Retro Hour podcast, episode number 92, your weekly dose of retro gaming and technology news with me, Dan Wood.
And me, Ravi Abbott.
And me, Handsome Joe.
Oh, get used to that name now, isn't it?
Yeah, he's taken ownership of it.
That's how he introduces himself when we're out and about now, if we're in a bar.
Apparently.
Now, of course, it is a big show this week because tomorrow is the big one. Play Expo in Manchester is finally here, and we're going to be there, Ravi.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fantastic. A pity Joe can't make it. That would be really good.
Well, Joe's been a bit busy recently. Should I show you why he's been busy? Where are you in this?
I'm the screaming guy in the background.
Now, this is, you're a multi-talented guy. Not only is Joe a big video games fan, obviously very talented podcaster, but also in a band as well.
Yeah, I'm in a band, 100 Crowns. Thank you for that. Put me on the spot there.
What are they called again? Well, this is a clip of so this is the debut video.
Yes, debut single, which came out Thursday, the 5th of October.
Okay, so available now?
Yeah, available now. iTunes, Spotify. Just little plugs there. Thank you, Dan.
So, are you going to... maybe Joe should do, like, a new Retro Hour theme tune?
That'd be good. A proper metal Retro Hour theme tune.
Go on, you've got to do the voice for us now,
Joe. I'm not going to... It's too loud.
Come on. Everyone wants it, don't they?
Yeah, all the gains.
Come on, do us a Retro Hour line.
Come on. Sing up like a drive!
Yes.
Rest in peace, headphone fans.
There we go.
It just blew my ears. That's cool, though, Joe.
It kind of sounded like one of Sega's campaigns.
It did, actually. That could have been in, like, Sonic Adventure or something.
It really could have been. And that was just on the spot. Like, that wasn't even, like, a good one.
That's a shame you can't make Play. You could have done that, couldn't you, before, like,
I could have done. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be at Play. I'm at yet another stag do.
Like every weekend for you.
Yeah, I know, it is. This is the year everybody got married. Speaking of weddings, Dan.
Are you still getting over my wedding?
Yeah, yes. Oh, gosh. I needed more than 2 days off of that.
No, let's be honest. We are actually recording the show a week in advance, so I haven't got married yet, but at the time the show comes out, I will be.
You ruined the illusion.
Spoiling the magic.
I know. Sound a twat now.
But yeah, I mean, it's, I imagine it would have been a good weekend. So if the show does get released, it means we're all alive.
Yeah.
Someone was around to upload it.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, you've actually been quite busy, though, working on your SNES Mini.
Yeah, got a SNES Mini the other day release.
Working on, like, you've been
working on it. I've been playing with it. No, you know what? You say I've been working on it, figuring out how to power it up.
Yeah.
I opened it up and I was like, somebody could have told me it didn't come with an AC adapter.
Really?
I had no idea.
What, you have to, how do you power it then?
It doesn't come with one. It just comes with a HDMI cable and then a USB mini cable. USB to USB mini. And I was like scratching my head like, am I missing a part? Like, is this meant to come with something? Like, because I bought it from Game, and it came in a big game box, big cardboard box, and then you take that, open that up, and it was all like bubble wrapped, and then the little box, it's tiny. And you open the box up, and there's no room for anything else. So your controllers are in there and everything, and there's no room for a plug. So I was like scratching my head, and I had to go on the website, like looking online and everything, and eventually I found like, by like the Daily Mail or the Independent or something, like outrageous SNES Mini doesn't come with AC adapter, and I was just
crazy.
Like, wow. I was like, oh, I did not know that at all. Like, and then I was like, surely I would have heard that if they'd said that. But Nintendo were selling like an official adapter which can be used for like DS's, the NES Mini, the SNES Mini, etc. But I read that you could just use any old USB adapter, so I've been using my iPad charger for it.
Oh, so it works with any phone charger or
yeah, you can just use any. So
it's a bit tight of them not to include that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I did think that. I was like, and it's kind of annoying me because I've got a white plug with a black SNES wire going into it, so it's kind of annoying me.
CD going there,
I'm just like, oh.
Well, you did a really cool photo as well that we posted on the Facebook.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And it's actually got all the kind of explain. It's got the original system there.
Yeah. So as a retro collector, when the SNES Mini came out, I was like, oh wow, look at all those fantastic games, and then kind of realised of the 20 games, I actually have 13 of them already, which is actually all the UK releases minus Mega Man X. I don't have Mega Man X.
Yeah.
But the only ones I don't have are Star Fox 2 because it never came out, and then the American releases only, Northern American releases only. So yeah, I just thought I'd do a cheeky picture and show it off.
Well, it's a cool comparison, isn't it? Just sizes.
And how does it compare to the original then? Is it like virtually indistinguishable? Like
I mean, it's one thing that kind of annoys me, which is just obviously kind of standard with like kind of retro games on new systems and stuff, is they've still not managed to fill a whole widescreen. Like you still, there's 3 modes on it. You can do CRT, which is very nostalgic, but it's still, squashing the screen.
4:3, is it?
Yeah, and then you can do, I think it's, 13:9 or whatever it is.
16:9,
16:9, sorry. But it still doesn't fill up the whole TV. And then you can do Pixel Perfect, and I thought, Pixel Perfect will stretch it and make it look really nice. But it's not. It's just a really nice.
Has it got those black borders?
It's got a black border, but you can change the borders and put like little Zelda things around it and stuff. But I just play it with a black border. But it's an interesting little system.
Do you have the CRT emulation on then, the scan lines?
I did. I was playing Contra 3 the other day, and I did have the CRT on it. And then I started playing Final Fantasy 6 or Final Fantasy 3, as it's still known on the SNES Mini.
Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting for me. I started playing that, and I got about half an hour into it, and I was like, no, Pixel Perfect. But you
can change it mid-game though, can you?
Yeah, you can change it. Yeah. Also, very interestingly, is once you start a game, if anybody could tell me in the comments or anything, I can't figure out if you can access any sort of menu, like, for save state or anything like that while you're actually in a game, other than if you reset the actual console, it immediately, with no lag, takes you back to the home screen. And then if you press Y on the controller, you can then save state what you last did on that game.
Okay.
Which is very odd.
Yeah, it seems a bit of a backward way of doing it.
Yeah, it seems very odd. I've tried start and select together, L&R and everything, and I've looked online and I can't find anything. But yeah, it's really odd. You can't. The only way to just stop a game and save it is to reset it, and then it asks you if you want to save it afterwards by pressing Y. Very interesting.
Anyone can be tech support.
Yeah, so if anybody can help me out, that would be fantastic.
But good review, though? Happy with the SNES Mini?
Very happy with the SNES Mini.
We're just thinking, it won't be long until we record this year's Christmas Let's Play video, will it? 2 months away now.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
have
true.
to get that out.
Absolutely.
And we've had some great listeners' photos as well of SNES Minis. We've kind of put a folder on the Facebook, and it's just full of people all proudly displaying them.
Well, speaking of our wonderful listeners, I mean, without them, we couldn't keep doing the Retro Hour podcast every week. We couldn't get to events like Play Manchester that's coming up this weekend. And we want to say a massive thank you if you've made a donation into the running of the Retro Hour podcast this week. We do accept donations. Just think of it as a tip jar. It's completely optional. Everything we get, though, does, of course, go back into the running of the show. And all you got to do is nip to our website, theretrohour.com. There is a PayPal and a Bitcoin link on there, too. This week, we want to say a massive thank you
to Roland Cock,
Darren Coles,
Erland Saxaug,
and Adam Hind.
Thank you so much for your support, guys. And of course, if you'd like to do the same and find yourself in next week's Hall of Fame, all you've got to do is head to our website, theretrohour.com. Now, we did mention plays coming up this weekend. Obviously, lots going on. We've kind of got the schedule now, so if you are coming along this weekend, tomorrow, at the time this show comes out, Saturday, the 14th of October, obviously we're going to have the massive GoldenEye panel.
Oh my God. Wow. Golden Gun, David Doak. It's going to be amazing.
Then we've got this amazing thing we were talking about last week, the Dark Room. That's kind of like an interactive, text adventure kind of based on Nightmare kind of game. Signosis panel that we're going to be hosting, all about Wipeout and Lemmings, all those games. And then on the Sunday, John Hare, which actually ties quite well into this week's show. We'll be talking more about that soon. Talking about his new game, Sociable Soccer, a bit of history
He's
about
actually
sensing.
launching it, isn't he?
Yeah, I know we're going to talk more about that in just a bit, but this will be there'll be chances to play the game, play this weekend, and then of course that massive Spectrum Sunday panel coming up, all about the memoirs of a Spectrum Addict movie. So pretty packed weekend actually, and also we probably get some time to have a few guys on the arcades and maybe do a bit of shopping as well.
Totally, and I just checked out that movie, Memoirs of a Spectrum Addict.
Yeah.
And really good, really good. It's amazing, some of the games, because I'm not really that knowledgeable on Spectrum, but it's amazing some of the games that they did in there and the creativity with the limited characters and kind of limited text that they had on there. It's absolutely insane. I recommend it to all the listeners. The production quality isn't the highest standard that we've had from films, but the content's in there. John Romero's in there. There's some amazing guests and people that I've never heard of before in this film, and hearing from them, it's just like, wow.
How long is it then?
Great. It's about 2 hours, you know.
Quite in depth.
Bloody hell, they always are, aren't they?
Hey, that's not for money.
That's not with the specials either. Because there's
when you sit down at night and you're lying in bed and you go, "Oh, I watch one of these nice gaming documentaries on my iPad." And I go, 2 hours.
All right, then I'll watch it. Then it's 4 a.m.
I usually watch them about 4 times. Just to
get everything out. I did that with Bedroom Civilians, the Amiga years. I remember that came out and I wanted to watch it so badly, but I didn't have like a 2-hour window for about 3 days, and I was like, I watched bit by bit, but then you've forgotten the last bit. Then you had to watch it all in one go. But so if you do want to check out a bit of that, I mean, they are going to be selling copies of it at Play this weekend, and there will be a little glimpse of it on stage, and also the guys behind it, and Jim Bagley, of course. Could have a specky panel with that.
There's a 45-minute special with Jim Bagley in it as well, so there's loads of stuff.
Absolutely. So if you're coming down to Play Expo this weekend, do drop us a tweet and say hi at Retro Hour UK. Hopefully we can meet up, maybe have a couple of drinks at the bar. Ravi will be buying, obviously.
Yeah,
Have fun, guys.
Now, we did mention about John Hare, and this week it kind of ties quite nicely into our guest.
Yeah, we've got Stu Cambridge. Now, if you've played any Amiga game, most of them in Sensible kind of software's background, they have Stu Cambridge dying as one of the first characters. And I have a big connection with Stu, because every game I've kind of played, you're like, no, not Stu, straight away.
Well, even not just the Amiga, like, Cannon Fodder came out on like everything, didn't it? SNES, Mega Drive,
so
Jaguar.
You'd have it on Mega Drive, Mega CD, you'd see Stu dying. And this guy's the artist behind Sensible Software. So, kind of Sensible Soccer, which is that world famous game. He did those little tiny characters from Mania and kind of turned them into a gaming thing. They remind me a bit of Lemmings, 2 pixels or 3 pixels high.
I think as an artist, it is a big job to get personality and character probably into 16 pixels, like tiny little characters.
Yeah.
So and those games had a very unique look about them as well.
Oh, definitely. It was that kind of cartoony, fun look. And, Cannon Fodder was a great example of that.
Yeah. Stu Cambridge, I'm sure this one's going to be interesting. Any tells we get from the Sensi kind of stable, they're always
Oh yeah, and the rivalry with Bitmap Brothers.
So if you're coming down to Play this weekend, nice little warm up for that. Stu Cambridge is going to be our guest on the Retro Hour podcast in around 15 minutes from now. Now, we mentioned about the SNES Mini. There's now going to be a Commodore 64 Mini on the market next year, apparently.
Where's this come from? And it's the C64 Mini. I know.
Yeah, get it right.
The C64.
There's
Get it
no
right,
Commodore branding on there.
Well, this has made all of the mainstream news sites over the last couple of days, or couple of weeks. GameSpot have covered this. I've seen it in the Metro. It's been all over the place. And the kind of saying, I think, it's kind of riding on the back of the NES Mini and the SNES Mini and all of those systems. This is a company called Retro Games Limited. And if you look at, I'll link you up in the show notes to the article on GameSpot. And the box actually does look very similar to the original Commodore 64 box. And really what it is, it's a plug-and-play TV console. It's got HDMI output, 2 USB ports on there as well. Stack of games preloaded on it, stuff like Impossible Mission, California Games is on there too. It's smaller than the original, and from reading the comments, the keyboard doesn't actually work.
Oh, really?
No, it's just like, a kind of for show, really.
Oh, okay, so it's just that cheap-looking controller.
Yeah, it's kind of a recreation of the Competition Pro, isn't it? The joystick looking at it. But you can actually plug a keyboard in via USB and use a basic keyboard.
That's quite interesting.
So it's been getting a lot of attention. And the reason, so I saw this and I thought, actually, this looks really familiar. Did a bit of digging, and I found this thread on Reddit here. It actually turns out this was an Indiegogo campaign 2 years ago.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, and it never got delivered.
Okay. So has somebody picked this up now?
I think it's the same guys behind it. Apparently, they keep promising this is going to be released many times over and over, and it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back for 2 years now. But now they're saying it's going to be out early 2018. They haven't given an actual deadline yet. And then looking a bit more into it, apparently they originally promised like a handheld Commodore 64 that I think we did speak about on one of our very early shows. And they're not going to be delivering that now. Apparently this is like the new product they're going to be releasing, which, campaigns can change over time. And I guess with the hype that all these mini consoles have been getting, maybe they think this is going to be more of a success. But I don't know. It does seem a bit like people donated to it like 2 years ago and still haven't been delivered.
It's strange because I think this thing could be completely wrapped up in legal hoo-ha, because the owners of the Commodore, there's been battles about that for years, and also the owners of games rights.
I was literally just thinking of that. So obviously with the Nintendo Mini, like it's an official Nintendo product.
Nintendo's still around, yeah.
They're still around, SNES Mini, official products. Obviously, we've got quite a few like Konami and Capcom games on there, but I'm sure they're paying some sort of royalty or just some sort of disclosure there where they own the rights to that game. But as Ravi says, literally, as you've just been kind of going on about that the whole time there, Dan, I've just literally been thinking to myself, like, is this officially endorsed by Commodore? Like, can that even be possible? Like, really, really interesting, really. I mean, like, those 64 games as well? Like, has anybody spoken to these people, the creators, who owns the rights to these games?
I'm looking at the list here, and they've got like Ocean Games, Team 17.
Yeah.
They've got like, Sensible Software, Bitmap Brothers. They've got some big names in here of companies.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of these games haven't been remade or they haven't been re-released. So I think they're probably wrapped up in legal hoo-ha.
Well, I mean, it's the fact that a lot of the mainstream sites have been talking about it obviously means they've obviously come up with like some marketing campaign.
Yeah, it's some sort. It's an official product, like it's for people to be going on about it. But like you say, is it officially endorsed by these people?
Because someone does own the Commodore name and trademarks, but even
even
they're a
if
big
you
mess.
look at it, it doesn't say C64 singularly on the box. It's got the rammed straight up to the edge of the C64.
Absolutely.
And it hasn't got C64 by itself.
Actually, you know what it hasn't got? It hasn't got the Commodore chicken head logo.
No.
Yeah, and Ravi pointed it out straight away when you said Commodore 64 Mini. He was like, it doesn't say it's a Commodore, it says C64.
Yeah, the C64
Yeah, because
Mini.
Commodore's now owned by a company in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commodore Holdings or something. Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, their trademarks are obviously, like a lot of these old companies, have gone through about 10 different companies, and there's still disputes over who actually owns it. But looking at this, I mean, maybe, if it was officially licensed, you think it would have the proper logos on and have the name and all that. So it is. I will admit, it does look a bit weird.
But then it could be a really good thing if it's, cheap, if it works well, and if it's kind of got all these titles, it could be great and people could mod it and stuff.
Well, you say if it's cheap, they're saying it's going to be £70.
Which is about the price you get an original C64 for on eBay. So.
Is it?
How much was the NES Mini?
80.
So,
but now they're 100. Yeah, but now they're 150 everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's been pending for 2 years now. There are some people in the comments that are like saying it's never going to get released. It's just all fake. I haven't seen any videos of the hardware running yet, so let's wait and see, I guess. But
yeah, that's
could
it.
be interesting.
I think it's going to be a wait and see one, this one.
I think that would be cool to have something like that.
Oh,
and
totally. I'd love it.
A lot of those systems, it could be made into the kind of like plug and play TV joysticks and stuff. So,
but the idea of not having the keyboard working makes me feel cheap.
So a lot of C64 games needed it.
Yeah.
We've talked before about that Commodore 64 console that came out with no keyboard. And the amount
so
of games you get caught short in. Yeah, you get like after 2 levels, it'd be like press F1 to continue, and you're like, oh, there isn't one.
You know what? Like, similar sort of story, but I actually went to Sicily last year with my family to see my auntie, and I took the DS out with me. An old DSi, like, it was battered, and the L and R buttons are like jammed in.
Right.
And I was playing Chrono Trigger, and I got about halfway through it. And bearing in mind, the whole way through the game, you've only needed the 4, the A, B, X, and Y. And I get to a certain point, and it was like you had to do a puzzle, and you had to use L and R, and that was it. I couldn't carry on. I was like, for God's sake! So I know the struggle there. I know the struggle.
But you've wasted all that time as well. It's
I know.
frustrating, isn't it?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that is something that you definitely need a USB keyboard if you're going to get one. I think.
Yeah.
Which kind of loses its portability, I guess, as well, doesn't it? But still, we'll look out for that. Now, cartridges are obviously something else that's had a bit of a comeback recently. We talked about it on the show the other week that obviously there was Capcom made that Street Fighter 2. They called it the 30th anniversary edition. The first thing Joe said is, which I said on the show the other week when you went on, it was like, it's 30 years into the original Street Fighter.
I was going to say Street Fighter 2's 92, 91, 92. And then the original one's 87.
Yeah.
This is bizarre that they're like, the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter
2.
But we're going to release Street Fighter 2.
Because no one wants Street Fighter 1 getting re-released. Have you ever played that?
Yes, I have played it. I've played it on, like Capcom Best of Street Fighter on PS2 and stuff. But interesting, talking of like official endorsements and stuff. So we've got this 30th anniversary cartridge coming out. Is this officially endorsed by Capcom?
This one, this is Capcom have released it.
Have Capcom actually released this?
They released this. It's a limited edition.
Which is crazy.
5,500 of them. We talked about this on the show the other week. There's one in like red. It's meant to be at Ryu's like event. And there's like a blanket kind of glowing.
Glow in the dark.
Glow in the dark one as well.
Really?
So they are cool, but they came with a warning, which this story kind of goes into now. Ars Technica have done an article here. Now, they're kind of saying we're at an age now where, gamers that were around in the like 8 and 16-bit era are now at an age where they want something that's kind of nostalgic and maybe, CDs or tapes were to a certain generation of music fans. There's something very tangible about a cartridge, and we idolise them when we were kids. It says they're bulky, beautiful things that we worshipped. And there was an emotional moment to getting a new cartridge when you first open that box and put it in the machine. You know,
absolutely
can't be replicated with like ROMs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're saying that, you know, because gamers have actually been really into getting this Street Fighter 2 cartridge. And there was another one that was done a couple of years ago they're talking about as well. There was a DuckTales remastered that came out in 2013.
Yeah, when they did the re-release on Xbox 360, etc. They did the gold cartridge, didn't they?
Yeah, 150 of them.
Came in a lunchbox. I can't remember how much that one was, but it's interesting because of the Street Fighter one, the Street Fighter 2 ones, $5,500, $100 each, and it's sold out, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, like you say, you know, if Capcom are being like, wow, well, we can make this kind of money from this, is anybody else going to jump on this bandwagon?
But again, it's like, it's a premium package for collectors, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's, well, they're saying, though, that maybe more companies are going to do this because, I mean, obviously, they're making money off it. But again, they're not releasing them as something that you're going to play every weekend. The interesting thing about it is, with these new cartridges, and we talked about this on the show previously, but it says, apparently, back in the day, they used to use 16 megabit 5-volt memory chips inside the original SNES cartridges.
Yeah.
Today, they're not readily available on the market, so they have to use 3 volts or less.
Yeah.
So they had to put a warning on the side of the box saying, this will work on your SNES, but it might set it on fire.
Well, a listener actually contacted me and explained the full technical reasons behind that.
Over to you, Ravi. Explain them.
Completely over my head. I was just like, you know, it's all about.
Oh, I thought we were going to get some proper technical explanation then from Ravi for the next half an hour.
And all this.
Ravi's there like, yes, the 3 volts. I had a listener contact me, and it went completely over my head. Good one, mate. Brilliant.
I was waiting for diagrams and everything.
Well, we never. Well, I don't know about Dan may have had cartridges, but I never had them. The closest thing I got to a cartridge was a memory card. I don't know if that's sad, but I went from floppy disks to zip disks and then to CD-ROMs.
Are you asking me if I had cartridges?
Oh, no. Dan, I know you're the cartridge
I was going to say, come on,
house
man.
is made of cartridges.
My house is cartridges.
I mean, I'm probably the same as Yoshi, right? But I never had a cartridge-based system myself. But I mean, my brother had like Mega Drive and stuff. So
they always
we had them
seem
in the
cool,
house.
and they always seem like something that would never get wrecked by kids. That was a great.
Oh no, you could wreck them.
The voice of experience.
Yes, you could wreck them.
But again, I mean, floppy disks were so delicate. It's like you just look at them the wrong way and they're corrupt. But
absolutely.
a cartridge, you blow in it, give it a little wipe, it's normally all right, isn't it? Unless you throw it off like you. Leaving the Street Fighter 2 out the window, it probably doesn't help.
You say that. I once remember Bart vs. the Space Mutants for the Sega Mega Drive. Pulled it out the Sega Mega Drive without switching the Mega Drive off, thinking like, you know, this would destroy the cartridge of anything. It'd affect the Mega Drive, but obviously, you know, those things are.
Did you want to break it?
No, I did it by accident. I must have been about 5 years old, and I panicked so much I hid it under the wardrobe until we moved house 3 years later.
Not still there now, is it?
No, it's not still there now. I was so terrified I'd broken it.
So why did you pull it out then? Was it just?
I don't know. I was just in my haste to change games, you know, and I just pulled it out, and I was like. That kind of thing, and I was just like, I can't tell anyone.
That made me think of something then. I was thinking of moments that you've raged and broke something.
Well, I borrowed my mate's copy of Jet Strike, and this was for it was a PlayStation, a really early PlayStation 1 titles, and it was in one of those original cases. Ended up dropping it by accident, looking at it, dropping it down some stairs. Smashed the whole case, and I put the case back together with glue, and kind of handed it back to my mate. Like, here's your copy of Desert Strike. And he's just like, "What is this?"
Well, interesting. You should say that. Talking of lending games to friends and stuff, I think it was like Christmas '96 or something, and I got Space Jam. You know, the Michael Jordan film. But I got the PlayStation 1 game, fantastic, brilliant, and I lent it to a friend a few weeks later, and. This friend always had a really messy bedroom, ridiculously messy bedroom that he shared with his younger brother. And when they returned Space Jam back to me, ironically, it was covered in jam. The disc, like in the box, not the box, the disc, like when you took it out, had jam all over it. And I just remember thinking, like, if they had some sort of argument or some sort of like, oh, look at this, like.
Did you ever find out?
No, I never found out. No.
Does that haunt you to this day?
It's just always stuck with me.
Why jam?
Sounds like one of those removal techniques, like get scratches out by covering your CD with jam.
Yeah, I've used a toothpaste trick, never the jam trick. Though.
I recommend it. Them seeds.
You know, it reminds me of, like, you remember when CDs, you'd see like early demos of them. They're all like, they're on YouTube. There's loads of them now. When CDs first got released, it's like, they will never break. They're indestructible. And they show people pouring like tins of baked beans on them.
Yeah,
like,
scratching nails
on
them. Yeah, that was scratching nails and screws.
Same friend also destroyed Resident Evil Evil 2. Never lent him another game.
Is he still your friend?
I still know him.
That's a no. Now, we did talk, of course, about this weekend. John Hare is going to be on stage with us at Play Expo in Manchester this coming Sunday. And we've been keeping an eye on the progress of Sociable Soccer, his new game for... Well, when did we have John on the show? Was it episode 2 or 3?
It was really early on, wasn't it? And he was talking about it then and how it was kind of developing. Now it's reached a stage that it's actually going on to Steam Early Access.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a modern game here, which is like, it's a retro podcast. Why are you talking about that? But Sensible Soccer was one of the world's biggest football games.
Yeah,
and
before FIFA and that.
Yeah, and it's still been updated. And this was a legendary kind of brand. And now that it's coming back, I think it's going to get a lot of interest. And it's doing different stuff. It personally attacks FIFA on one of the first screens. It's got VR, which is kind of crazy.
And it's got that Sensi kind of attitude then, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. We've played it, and the gameplay is as smooth as Sensi. It's just, you've got nicer guys on it. They're not 4 pixels high. Yeah. There's a bit more quality. So.
Well, it is available now for a Steam Early Access. Just came out on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
So if you want to play it, then, it is available. Obviously, it's an early access version of it, so there might still be some changes before it's finalised. But you can actually take a peek at it now. Now, we played it, was it last year, Play Expo Manchester?
Yeah. And one great feature about it was always the management in the football game. So, keeping your teams up to date, keeping the latest rosters. Like, even now, people update the old version of Sensible Soccer to have all the modern players in it. Now, this new one works on a way that they've got seasons, and everyone's at a tournament, and everyone makes a team. So you're actually competing with all the other players in the world to get your team to number 1, which I think is quite cool. You're not just stuck in your standard teams or what they've defined is happening that season. You're making the kind of season.
Well, for me, I'm not a football fan in the slightest. We talked about that in the show before. FIFA, I play it, I lose track of where I am on the screen.
I'm not good at sports games. I'm not good at football.
But Sensible Soccer is probably one of the very few games. Kick-off to a bit as well. I could actually play it. And we had a go at this last year, and I was like, actually, I can kind of get into this. It's just a fun game.
Yeah.
So
it seems really fun. And also, I think there's a lot of potential here because Sensible Soccer was one of the most hacked games ever. They had Sensible Soccer on the moon where you kicked it and the ball went for miles. they had Sensible Fodder Soccer or Cannon Soccer.
Cannon Soccer, yeah.
Where it was bombs as football. So, the modding ability of this, I think you're going to have some mad game modes.
And it's cool, you can play it online and stuff now, people all around the world. Because I know they actually still do, like SWOS, Sensible World of Soccer. They do like tournaments, like they have weekends to hire at a hotel in like Poland and stuff.
Oh, yeah, they do it still for kickoff.
Yeah, you mentioned that before,
So, obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in playing this, so now you can finally get your hands on it. In terms of retro kind of inspired games that have been hyped, this is definitely up there. So, I think from what we've seen, it's going to live up to the expectations. So,
yeah, definitely. And I think he would call it sensible if he could get the rights.
Yeah, well, we're going to be interviewing him on Sunday, so we'll know that have an updated John Hare interview on the show in coming weeks if we get the recording stuff working this time.
Definitely.
Wait, I was going to say third time lucky, probably about 12th time lucky. We never managed to record stuff properly at events. So if you are coming down to Play Expo this weekend, we'll see you there. We'll be hanging out all weekend, so if you're going to be around, obviously drop us a tweet at Retro Hour UK. We'll come say hi. And look out for the panels as well. They're going to be really good. And hopefully we're not too tired on next week's show.
No, and also look out for some bargains, because I don't know if we're going to have time for shopping, are we?
Ravi, we're getting in there early doors.
Okay, yeah, first dibs.
You say that, but it never happens. You usually send, you guys go do a panel, and I go around and I spot the good stuff, and then I come back and I go, Dan, found this. Let's go buy it.
Well, actually, because this year Ravi's actually getting there a little bit early because he's staying with a lady. So I expect you there at no sleep obviously night before, Ravi. So you'll be there early doors.
Yeah. I'll be outside the Trafford Centre.
6 a.m. Let me in. So we'll see you there if you are coming down this weekend. Thank you for checking out episode number 92 of the Retro Hour podcast. We'll be out again next Friday, available from all of your favourite podcast clients and on our website, theretrohour.com. Right then, speaking of Sensi, this week's special guest is the legendary Stu Cambridge. And we'll see you next week.
Ciao.
See ya.
War, never been so much fun. 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 Go up to your brother, kill him with your gun, leave him lying in his uniform, dying in the sun. War.
You're listening to the Retro Hour podcast, and let's say hello to this week's special guest, Stu Cambridge.
Hello, Dan. Nice to meet you virtually.
I've played so many games where I've killed you, Stu. It's been bad.
Do you know what? I hear that so many times, and I think, can't you just let me survive a few missions? You know?
That's it. That's always the aim, to keep Stu alive. But, you know...
Hey, there could be a follow-up that keeps Stu alive. the lost missions.
Well, Stu, we appreciate you joining us on the podcast this week and taking time out. I mean, this is something we always like to ask our guests to start our interview with. What was your first ever computer experience then? Where did it all start for you?
Going back into the 80s, a computer class in school. Do you remember, I mean, when all the old computers were coming out, we had the VIC-20, the ZX80, ZX81, and everyone was really getting into the whole computer thing. And like many kids of my age, at the time, I was fascinated by them. And I remember seeing the ads in sort of WH Smith's in the magazines, and we used to go to Boots and all those sort of places, and they'd stock all these computers. And just really from there, I just got interested in them, and sort of saw that there was a few in school, and used to poke my nose round the door, and when the teachers were playing on the computer during lunchtime, and just got into it like that, really.
Well, when you ended up getting a computer at home, what was it?
VIC-20. I had a VIC-20. I originally wanted a 64, but my dad said, look, that's a lot of money. Why don't you go for this one? And then if you really get into it and it becomes something that you want to, carry on with, then we'll look at getting you a better machine later. So I got a VIC-20 with its 5K RAM. I think I had some educational stuff with it, as you used to get back then, because your mum and dad thinks that you're going to be using it for maths and English when all you want to do is play games on it. And I got Abductor, Jeff Minter's Abductor, and Laser Zone. Didn't realise at the time that Laser Zone needed an 8K RAM expansion.
Oh, no way.
I know, so I was like, I remember getting it and thinking, Abductor is brilliant, love the sound on Abductor, it's fantastic, like these real arcade quality sounds. And then thinking, hang on a minute, I can't play the other one. So I just kind of like sort of persuade my mum and dad to buy me a RAM expansion as well, which I don't recall going down too well at the time, because I think they'd spent quite a few quid on it, getting this machine.
I think the RAM pack was about as much as a computer, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that was crazy money back then. I think 16K RAM pack was like crazy money. But also I had a TV as well for my bedroom, because obviously you have a computer, you need something to plug it into. And they wasn't too keen on me putting it on in the living room, so they got me a TV for the bedroom as well. So it was quite a good Christmas that year.
Yeah, you must have had it all, and a whole 16K RAM for just one game.
Sport for choice.
Well, as a kid, were you into kind of art and, creative design stuff?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I was really into. I was really into synths and electronic music. I was really into genre and all that sort of stuff. But I was also into the whole sort of look, like the neon and all the bright pastel, the pastel colours and all that sort of stuff. But with art, I actually failed my O-level in art because I took too bloody long. So I didn't get any qualifications in art at all.
What kind of led you to wanting to be a radio technician then, after doing the art?
You've done your research, haven't you? I was into electronics and synths and that sort of stuff, and I always used to listen to radio in bed. I used to listen to LBC, and I think I had what was called back then BBC London, but it wasn't BBC London, it was Radio London, I think, back then. And I used to listen to a lot of that sort of stuff, and I was always fascinated by the electronics that went behind it. And I lived in Ilford, and they had this careers sort of an evening or afternoon in the Ilford Town Hall, and the BBC were there. And I went along and with my parents, and we saw this information about being radio engineers and that sort of stuff. And that really, really sort of got my interest. But then I kind of got into doing computers, and I thought, this is pretty good. I'd love to be able to do this as well. And I kind of branched off onto doing computers and started to learn to program, and kind of lost the direction in going to radio engineering and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I sometimes think maybe it'd be nice to get into that a little bit. At least I've had a bit more knowledge about that sort of stuff, and then who knows? Maybe I wouldn't have gone into computers.
Well, what was kind of your first break in computers then, when you started earning money off it and got a job?
A friend of mine, he wrote a game on the 64, and I used to sort of, go around his house and we'd sort of, he'd show me all the sort of stuff he used to code and all the assembly language and all that sort of stuff. And I was working for the railway. I used to be a signal technician on the railways. Really junior ride. I was only young. I was only like sort of teens. And I went around his house one lunchtime, and he said, "Oh, one of the companies I know, I've just got a friend of mine who's got a publishing deal with this company, and they're looking for artists." And bear in mind, at this time, I'd actually had an Amiga. I mean, before, actually, I fast forward, actually, because I actually got a publishing deal with Powerhouse for a game called Battle Ball, which was a shoot-'em-up construction hit game, but it never got published, so it kind of never really sort of achieved the status that I wanted to have a game that I'd done and on the shelves, so that kind of thing sort of was a bit of a bummer, really, because I got paid for it, and the money I got for that used to buy an Amiga. So I started doing some graphics on the Amiga, and they say out of the blues, one mate said to me, "Oh, there's a publisher my friend's working for," he said, "and they're looking for artists." So he gave me the details, and I sent a disc off, and that was it, really. I'd got offered some work, and the first game I did for them was a game called Renaissance 1, which is a company called Impressions. And it was a 4-pack of arcade classics. I think it was Space Invaders, Centipede, Asteroids, and Galaxians. And that's the first thing I did. And they had like a classic version, which was pretty much like the original, and they had the contemporary version, which was basically a free reign for me to do whatever graphics I wanted that sort of fitted in with the genre.
Well, what was it like the first time you saw an Amiga?
Mega excitement. It was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, it was just an amazing machine back then. I mean, I don't know. You looked at what was around at the time, and everything was so I was going to say digital, but it's very clear. You had like very limited palettes. The resolutions were pretty rubbish, and also this machine came along, and you could see, lots of colours, windows moving about the screen, whole screens going up and down, and synth soundtracks that you think, well, that's coming out of a machine that you can buy for your home. How is that possible? It was so for me, seeing an Amiga for the first time was just crazy.
And what kind of programs were you using for your work on the Amiga then?
Initially I used D-Paint, and then later on, when I was working at Sensible, I discovered a program called Brilliance. I think it went to Brilliance 2, which is the version I was using, and that effectively was D-Paint, but it was a little bit quicker. And when you're doing sort of graphics day in, day out, even a slight slowdown in speed of the program you're using will make a big difference to your workflow. So I switched to using that, and I think I used that for most of the art on Sensible Golf, and I think I finished Cannon Fodder on that. I think I finished Cannon Fodder on Brilliance, and I think I did Sensible Golf using that as well.
Well, how did you create the images? I mean, did you plot it out on graph paper first, or was it straight on the screen, or how did you do it?
Yeah, write it in dust. Some people did.
Well, it's funny because on the 64 you just had to do it on graph paper initially until you had editors. But with the Amiga, I just used to draw direct to the screen. I mean, sometimes I would sort of do a little scribble on a notepad just to get an idea of sort of rough things I wanted to do. But generally speaking, most of the time you just scan it, just doodle on the screen and get your palette set up and just draw directly. It's the easiest way.
How did you get your kind of reputation and your artwork out into the industry?
Reputation. I think. I mean, I got my work at Sensible, I think, because I'd created stuff that looks arcadey. I'd always been a fan of the arcade style, like the stuff that Konami were doing and Capcom were doing. Games like Sidearms, was it? The sideways scrolling one. Games like that R-Type, where they had these really detailed graphics. And I always was really heavily inspired by that sort of look. So I kind of adapted that for me, and I just kind of drew my art using that as kind of an influence. And I suppose that showed when I sent my disc off to John and Chris at Sensible, and then next thing I know, I'm getting an interview, and I got the job. And then I just used that as a foundation for all the work I did on Cannon Fodder, and then subsequently anything I've done since. What
was the atmosphere like at Sensible when you first started working with John and the team there?
It was like a holiday. It was everything you can imagine and more. The work was hard. You know, we worked very, very long hours, often all the way through the night. But for a young sort of, Essex boy sort of who's into computers, it was just a dream job. You know, you could sit there and you're drawing graphics, you're working with programmers who weren't afraid to try things out. You didn't even think about it as a job. It was just like, hey, we're getting paid to do this. This is amazing. And the rewards were there because you could see the work you were doing would all of a sudden appear in the game, and it'd be like instant feedback. And before I joined Sensible, I was used to sending discs off to the programmers who would often be, you know, miles and miles and miles away. And then you'd wait like a day for it to get through the post, and then they'd phone you up and say, yeah, I've got the disc, and yeah, that's all right, but could you do a change? And you think, oh, right, okay. So working in an environment, not only with a couple of your heroes, because I was a mega fan of Sensible on 64, but also having that immediate feedback and realising that you're involved in that process. You know, so going from a fan to being somebody who worked with them was just like mind-blowing at the time.
What was the first game you were working on there then? Was it Megalomania, your first one?
The first game I worked on was actually Fodder, but I did do an all-nighter, if you want to call it a game, it was Sim Brick, which is that kind of...
I remember Sim Brick, yeah.
Yeah, Sim-Man, yeah. So do you remember that? It was,
yeah.
And that's the first thing I did at Sensible, and I trying to impress, John saying to me, we've got this idea for like a cover disc thing. I said, okay. And he said, right, okay, we've got this idea. I can't do it. And I thought, well, I'll do it, and I'll stay all night and do it. And I actually did a work through doing the graphics for that just to impress. It was just crazy, really. But that's what it was like. You know, it was like. You know, so that was the first thing I did for Sensible was the Sim Brick stuff.
Well, Megalomania was a big title, and kind of the little guys in the cartoonish style was amazing, and that developed into Sensible Soccer. How did that all kind of work?
Well, I joined Sensible as Megalomania was just being finished, and John had done all the graphics for Megalomania, and I remember being sent discs. Chris Chapman, who wrote Megalomania, would send me discs. I had an Amiga 1500, which was that rebadged Amiga 2000 with some strange memory configuration. And I remember thinking, this is something special. But the movement from that to the look, I suppose the look of Sensible was just a natural progression because of getting as much information on screen as possible. If you're going to look at a game where you need to see a large area of the playfield, you're not going to be able to do that with chunky with graphics. You need to scale them down so you can see a much wider area. So I suppose really that was the roots of that whole look. I don't think it was like, hey, let's create a look that we can be known for. I think it just had to happen that way because that's the way the game was designed to get the most information on screen. And
even like with Megalomania, I remember like my jaw dropped when I heard that sample speech in there. That was groundbreaking. Yeah, it was. I remember hearing it, and it was like, how have they got all this in there? On a
and
disc.
Then working up there, it was great.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, like, Sensi Soccer was such a massive title. I remember every kid at school playing that. I mean, did you guys, like, play it much in the office on breaks and stuff?
Well, can I tell you something? I'm the only one in Sensible who's not into football, believe it or not. So everybody was really into their football. And I did play. I mean, I do enjoy the game. I do enjoy playing it because it's a great video game. You know, even if you're not into football like I'm not, it's a great video game. But yeah, I mean, it was played a hell of a lot. I mean, seriously, a hell of a lot. I mean, I was working on Fodder when Sensi Soccer was being developed, and it was like every day. It'd be like people would be playing it every day. And bearing in mind, when I started, Fodder was just literally an idea. So we didn't have a lot of the stuff running on the screen that you had in about a year, sort of 6 months later, you could actually play the game. So there's a lot of time where I was just drawing and designing the graphics. And Chris was writing Sensi Soccer, and it'd be continuous. People would be sort of coming and playing it. So yeah, I mean, it had a hell of a lot of play testing. But then it's a great game, and I think it's testament to the fact it was played a lot, that it turned out to be such a great game and it's still known, and remembered today. Well, I think you made a good point as well, because I'm not into football either. And we've talked about this on the show, that, if I pick up, like, a copy of FIFA, I get lost. I don't know what the heck's going on. But with Sensible Soccer, I could sit down and play it with my mates and just pick it up quite easily. Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, my son, he's got a couple of the FIFA games, and I hate them, you know. But I can play Sensi Soccer. You know, I can put that on, and I will enjoy playing Sensi Soccer because it's a great arcade game. It's a great arcade style game, and it's brilliant fun when you've got a group of you, and you can just take it in turns and actually have a proper match. You know, and I really am not into football at all. You know, it bores me senseless. You know, when people talk about football, I can't. My brain just switches off. But with Sensi Soccer, you can sit and, you know, load it up, play it, and it's great.
I think it's testament to the game that there are still people who do tournaments all around the world, like to this day, like Sensible Soccer and stuff. Yeah,
totally. I mean, I had when was it? A while ago, somebody emailed me about they were doing some tournament. I was blown away that people are still playing it. That's crazy.
They're still updated. Yeah, the updated
brilliant. Yeah, I saw that as well. I mean, all the new teams are in there, and you think, wow. You know, there's editors for all the team data. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's great. That I wasn't involved with the original Sensi Soccer. I was the only thing I did on the original Sensi Soccer is I did the logo. I did the loading logo, and I think I did a little bit of the crowd stuff. I did a lot more work on SWOS, but to be involved or be you know, as part of that, you know, it's something I'm really proud of. You know, even though I was associated with just a few little bits and pieces, like the fact I was in the office when I was developing it, it's just, yeah, cool.
Well, as you mentioned with Cannon Fodder, which is just one of our absolute favourite titles, you know, you kind of changed the style and got a bit war-based, but kept that a good, fun, cartoony, sensible feel.
Again, I mean, when it started out, it was like, you know, lemmings with guns. You know, it kind of, I mean, the original graphics I started drawing were really rubbish. I mean, I started off doing some kind of sort of moorlands kind of landscape. Just wasn't working. And all of a sudden, you kind of get that little click, and then the fun element creeps in, and you get the little men, you know, drawn, little soldiers drawn. And the funny thing is that the soldiers in Colourful are not the same graphics as Sensi Soccer, because like John done the graphics for that, and I did the graphics for Cannon Fodder. It's just that we wanted small sprites. And it's really weird, because I remember doing the sprites for it, and John said to me, "Oh, can you do like a screen with lots of different colour combinations for the uniforms?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem." And bearing in mind, you only had like 16 colours on your Amiga to do the whole, you know, in-game graphics. I mean, you could do 32 colour mode, but you know, it would slow it down slightly, and you know, so we kept to 16 colour. And I did this screen with all these little soldiers. I'll have to send it to you because I've got it somewhere. And what happens is you get these little sprites, and I think only about 11 pixels high or something, and they start to sort of become alive. And it sounds really weird, but they take on this little character, and you think, oh, there's something there. And then when you, even in D-Paint, just moving them around the screen as a brush, or creating an anim brush, once they animate them and they're walking, just walking them down the screen in D-Paint, you think, oh, this is really cool. And then you start getting ideas for like, where would they walk? What would the environment be like? You know, what will they do when they get shot? What would they do when they get blown up? And, you know, but in the style of that sort of character. And it's a very, very strange process, because if someone said to me, oh yeah, you'll be drawing like these little sprites that are like, you know, 11 pixels, and they're going to be really kind of sort of have character in them, and people will identify you with those, I'd say, well, I don't understand, because there's not enough pixels there to create anything. But yeah, it's a very, very strange. These little pixels take on a life on their own once they start moving about, and then the whole game kind of starts to evolve. The graphical look starts to evolve around it, and before you know it, you've got a look for a game.
I think it's testament to the wonderful programming in that game, and your incredible graphics as well. That the fact that, you know, you do care about these characters as well. When you see one of your little guys on his back, and you know he's bleeding and he's crying, it's like it breaks your heart.
Cheers. Yeah, I mean, when Jules did a brilliant job on the coding. I mean, bear in mind, we got the job at the same time, and I'd never met Jules before, and you know, he'd never met me, and we shared a flat for a year. And it was great, because like he was always open to comment about programming and ideas, but he was a great coder on it. I mean, he did some amazing tricks. I mean, the one thing I think that is real testament is the way that the collision system works on the landscape. You know, where the little soldiers can walk along, and there's like might be a little hole in the grass, like a little ditch, and they'll just duck down. You know, it's only like 3 or 4 pixels, and they'll duck down. And when they're going along the beach, and you see them getting deeper and deeper in the water, and all of a sudden they start to swim. You know, and when they come back out, they go up and up and up, and then out of the water. Little tricks, little things like that, which. You know, I mean, it used to it blew me away when he started putting that stuff in.
And when you see a guy floating down the river as well, that was always pretty cool.
Yeah, and you could shoot them, and they would turn and go the other direction. If you kept shooting them, they would drift off somewhere else.
Or that kind of mercy shot when they're being killed and they go, help, help.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because you could get them to bounce around, couldn't you? As well, they go and then they bounce off. Yeah, brilliant. You know.
Well, I also think naming the kind of first team as the developers, Jops and Jules and you, is just hilarious. Like, because those names are stuck in our heads permanently. They're always the first graves that you get on the game.
I know. We should have put ourselves about 10 in or something.
Yeah,
like
that's it. The successful
all the rubbish
team.
people in the front. Yeah, put all the rubbish people at the front. Let them get blown up and killed, and we can come in later once somebody's got used to playing the game. But yeah, didn't really think about that, did we?
and I bet drawing your own graves was a bit surreal.
Yeah. It's like, hang on a minute, this isn't really what I signed up for.
Well, obviously, when that game did come out, I mean, it got massive favourable reviews, like Amiga Format Gold, CU Amiga Screen Star, all of that awards.
Yeah.
And then obviously the mainstream kind of got on it. I remember those, like the outrage in the Sun and that kind of thing. I mean, how did that affect you guys then? And what was kind of did you like the controversy, or was it a bit annoying?
Well, I think the publicity obviously didn't do us any real harm because it brought the game to the attention of the public. Obviously, we got a lot of flack because a lot of people got a wrong idea of what the game was about. I mean, the gist of it was I suppose it was my fault, I suppose, because I just used the poppy image that we wanted in the game, and I just grabbed the one off of, that you get from the high street, and I drew it. I had it on taped on my screen, I drew it, and that was it. And then next thing you know, we had the Royal British Legion on our case. I think John, I think I paid 500 quid or something. I don't know what it was. Something like that to shut them up. And then I think we had to change the poppy image. I don't think they liked the fact we was using their poppy image. I think that was the gist of it. And then later, when the press got hold of it, they said we were glorifying war and it was insulting to all the soldiers that had died, which really wasn't true at all. It really, really wasn't true. And so once we changed the poppy to a more, the natural-looking poppy, it kind of all sort of settled down. But, for me, I've said this before, but when we've been working on the game for quite some time, and we was just so tired, because we was pulling all-nighters all the time. It was just like getting bugs coming in from Virgin, saying, we've got this crash, and we've got that, and can you change this, and can you change that? And when you've been doing that for weeks in, weeks out, you think, well, okay, all the graphics are done, we're just in tests, we're just tweaking levels, adjusting the level maps, just doing the final little points that you do when you make a game. And then they want some graphical changes being done. You think, oh, God, And I remember going out and getting this poppy from somewhere in Saffron Ward, and I just went out and, just saw some, just grabbed a few. And I just thought, I just can't be arsed. I just can't be arsed to draw, because I was really proud of my first poppy.
Yeah.
I was really proud of it because I thought, this is really nice. I had to palette nice. I had a little bit of stippling to give it a bit of texture. The reds I picked were really nice. It just looked right. I was really pleased with it. And then I thought, oh, God, I've got to draw another one now. And, I had to draw it all again, And it sounds like I'm being a whinging old git, but it's just the fatigue of working on a game for so long, and you want to get it finished. You want to get it out of the way and say, right, we've done it, it's done, And it just was a pain in the arse, to be honest.
Well, one thing
we triumphed.
Well, one thing you don't really hear all that often about Cannon Fodder anymore, that I think maybe some fans still remember, is your FMV introduction on the CD32 and the 3DO, and that was maybe your proudest acting moment.
I wouldn't go as far as acting. You can see me laughing in it, which wasn't very good, because there's a bit where I'm shot on the ground, and I think who was shooting me? Was it John?
I think it was. He had the flat cap on. I think it might have been. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah, actually, I saw it a few weeks ago, but much. I've seen it so many times. I've forgotten it. It's yeah. But I mean, there's a bit in it where I was on the ground and I'm being shot, and I just couldn't stop laughing. And it's evident when you look at it back. I'm trying to mask a grin. I mean, George is lying there trying to be like Mr. Cool, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm acting here. I'm getting shot." And there's me just laughing my head off. But that was great fun. I mean, that was brilliant. And at the time, I really, really wish at the time I kind of embraced it a bit more, what we was actually doing, because I was, quite young, and I didn't realise how it would be viewed in, decades to come, and I wish I took it a little bit more seriously, my acting. But it was good. It was a good day out. It was brilliant. Yeah, we had a great fun filming it, and I don't think many other developers did anything like that, did they? I don't think they.
Well, there wasn't many. You're right, and I actually know people that went out and paid like £400 for the FMV card just to watch that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
It's like the one game on the CD32 that had FMV. It's like, oh, I've got
the only title.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't. It's because there was a version. There's a cut of the video where Chris Yates he's got he's dipping a burger in the chest, and there's like tomato ketchup, and I think they cut it off the CD32 version. I'm pretty sure they did. There is a version that was not edited out where he's doing that. It's quite funny. But we did videos for the other game. We did videos for like Sensible Soccer, and we did a video for Sensible. We did one of the Sensible Soccers we did a video for, and we did a video for Sensible Golf.
Oh, those would be good. Have they ever come out? Or?
Probably on YouTube.
Jops has got them, because Jops has actually got them now, because we found them all, and they've been digitally encoded now, so Jops has got them. And so I don't know whether he's going to release them at some point. But
that would be very funny to see.
Yeah,
I love that.
The golf one's really funny.
So Cannon Fodder 2 was kind of a change in art style, and it got more into the UFO kind of feel and the alien stuff. How did you feel about going into the UFO territory?
John Lilly did the graphics on Cannon Fodder 2, and I liked John a lot, but we're totally different art styles. He's got a different art style to me, and I always thought it was a bit strange that they asked him to do it. I mean, I was working on Sensible Golf, so I suppose with time constraints, it probably would have been a bit impractical for me to do both games. But I don't know. I always felt it was a bit too far. I think it should have been a bit more of the same, but with newer locations and different, slightly updated graphics. I didn't really like the UFO thing so much. I mean, I like the UFO thing as in, it sounds a bit weird, but where it's grounded in like, because at the end of the Cannon Fodder you had the enemy base, which is underground, and I did have cryogenic chambers in there, but I'd like to have kind of sort of started where the old one left off, if that makes sense.
It didn't get a good reception either, really, compared to the original.
No, I have to say I'm not a great fan of it. I mean, it's not a bad game. I think John did a great job on the graphics, but I don't think it fits in with the original. I think it's slightly too far sort of sideways than it should have been forward. It should have been another step forward. It was almost like a step forward, but with a little bit of a verse to the right or a verse to the left. Which is a shame, because I think it could have been a much better game if it stuck to enhancing what was in the original.
Well, Sensible decided to take a route of kind of simulation games, but there were some strange titles in there. I remember Sensible Train Spotting was one of them. Sensible Golf was a big title as well, and I hear it was quite demanding with Virgin. Yeah,
I mean, Sensible Train Spotting was one of those, I think, I don't know who wrote that. I know John had done the graphics on it, but I don't know if Chris Yates done that. But yeah, essentially Golf. I mean, I think what was happening is we was getting a lot of stick because it was taking longer than we should have done. I don't recall the full sort of chats that were being made because it's a long time ago. But all I know is the game wasn't finished. I certainly had a lot of stuff I wanted to put in it, and it just never made it. Just never made it into the game. I think it was pretty much down to getting this game out the door as quickly as possible, which meant that we couldn't spend as long on it. And I think that's evident when you look at it. It's not quite there. It's got the makings of a good Sensi game, but it's not quite made it. There's a lot of little things that didn't happen. I mean, some of the graphics I'm not happy with. I mean, the big sort of when you're putting, I don't like the sprites I did on that. I think I needed to update them a little bit. They weren't quite right. A lot of the game graphics I was not really 100% with. I'd like to have gone back and tweaked them a bit. And there's a lot of little animations that never went in. You know, I mean, the most obvious one, which I don't know if you've read about it, was the flasher. I wanted this little guy to jump out of the bushes every now and again and just do a little woohoo, you know. But he never went in. I wanted some wildlife to be in it as well, so you'd be sort of, as you're playing, you'd get like a rabbit jumping around or you know, some birds flying about and other bits and pieces. But yeah, I mean, it just wasn't finished. It's a shame, really, because I really like the game.
Yeah, and all those kind of elements always make a sensible title, don't they? Feel alive, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we mentioned Sensible Train Spotting. That was the last Amiga game that came out of Sensible. I mean, what was the thinking behind that thing? Because it was quite a departure from your previous titles.
Do you know what? I didn't know that was the last one of the last ones. I didn't realise.
According to 1995 it was. Yeah, according to Wiki it was, which probably would make sense, yeah.
Blimey. I think it. Do you know what I think it was? Because John was responsible. John and Chris were responsible for that, and I think it was really a piss take of all the games that were coming out, which were like, you know, simulations, like, you know, this and this. Yeah, I can't remember what was around at the time, but you know, when there's a lot of these
probably Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I don't know.
I
don't know. I mean, John will probably have to clear up more than me because I don't actually remember why they did it. I remember thinking that's a bit odd, and I remember laughing when I was playing it, thinking, "Is this it?" But I think it was just a joke that, you know, somebody would sit there for hours just clicking the numbers. And it's like, that's what train spotters do, that is. That's what they do. They sit at a platform and they just click numbers in the pad and they go, there, I've got that one, I've got that one, I've got that one. So I think that was pretty much what it was all about.
Well, it never got a proper... It was just on a magazine cover disc, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. They were great, those cover discs, weren't they? Because,
amazing.
They were a bit of a pain to do. But in hindsight, I think it was worth the effort because it's something extra to look back on and think, yeah, we did that. I mean, the one we did with, was it Sensible Soccer and Fodder together? We had the Moon Soccer.
Yeah,
you know,
that was great.
Grenades and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
I remember Cannon Soccer. I spent I think the other year that came out was on like a Christmas cover disc, and I spent all Christmas Day playing that. It was brilliant.
Excellent. Love it.
Well, as you know, they kind of tried to get into 3D at Sensible. Did you see much of the huge game Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll that was going to come out?
I did. See, when we was in our office in Saffron Walden, there was a whole... Initially, we moved to the offices we had old offices in March in Cambridgeshire, and then we relocated to Saffron Walden. The offices we had like the ground floor, the first floor, and the second floor was where John and Chris was, which we used to call Suitland, which is all the business happened, you know, all the dotting of I's, crossing the T's, and all that sort of stuff. And then on the first floor, there was another office that adjoined it, which wasn't ours. So when Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll really started to take sort of development time and started to get more resources ploughed into it, they actually rented the adjoining office space, which went over the car park. And they filled it with artists. So there was an awful lot of art done for that game. And I've seen quite a huge chunk of it. I mean, I've seen Johnson show me quite a lot of it, and you know, and it's just incredible the amount of work that went into it. But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing now is when you look at it, it has dated itself because the art look is very early 90s, you know, and which is a shame. Because I think if the art style was slightly different, it might have sort of weathered a bit better.
Yeah, it's kind of got that theme hospital FMV kind of style. Yeah. But what point did you kind of see the end at Sensible, or know that you know it kind of wasn't working for you, or you just saw it finish?
I was doing Sensi Golf, and then I did some work on SWAS, and then I started working on a game called Have a Nice Day, otherwise known as Office Chair Massacre, and that's for a new Sony PSX, which later became the PS1. And that was a 3D kind of first-person shooter, which you played sitting in an office chair. And it just didn't feel right. The whole environment didn't feel right anymore when I started that project. There was too many people at Sensible. I mean, I said the art team that they had for Sex and Drugs was was just growing exponentially all the time. And you know, you could go down to make a coffee in the kitchen, and I would see people I've never met before. And you think, well, this isn't really Sensible anymore, because Sensible was just like a group of guys who just all get along, and we're just having a blast making games. We're just loving it, you know, loving just the fact, the creative process, the late nighters, we're just doing the whole thing. And all of a sudden, you're in an environment where it's just become, I don't know, like a production sort of system where they're just, artists are coming and going, and don't know who he is, I don't know who that is. You know, you say hello to them, but I don't know who that is, you know. And it just kind of lost that kind of personal feeling that you got in a small team. And I think John has actually said that, you know, the best team at Sensible was when it was just the you know, Sensible Soccer and the Fodder and Mania days, because it was a small team of people and it was manageable. You know, they could manage the output of the games, and we all just gelled. You know, we all got on and we all just wanted to do the same thing. We all had the same goal. And when you take that away and you've got people coming in who are there to create, you know, so many animations for that scene and so many animations for that scene, and you know, rendering these backgrounds out, that kind of personal kind of feeling is then removed a little bit. And for me, I thought the magic had gone. You know, I just didn't feel it in there anymore. So, you know, I looked at doing something else. You know, which is, I mean, in some respects, I think, should I stayed a little bit longer? Should I try to get, you know, renew a contract on another project with them if there was, you know, but I mean, in hindsight, I suppose I'm glad I did, really, because I got out before it got a bit serious.
Well, after Sensible, obviously, you did go into like the world of 3D with Joe Blow.
That's right, yes.
What was that time like for you?
I did. So I used to work with a friend of mine at Sensible, and we had this idea for a game, which was, I don't remember, there was a game on the Nintendo 8-bit called Kick or Cubicle. And it was this really cute little game where you had this little, I don't even know what the character was. It was a strange little cute character. And you could push, you could freeze things and push them around on a single screen. And I thought, that's a really good idea. And then I thought about, well, this guy with a spray can. I thought he's like a DJ, but he could spray, and it was cool spray, and he could freeze baddies and push them around and do things. So we came up with this like little 2D demo on the PC. I did the graphics on the Amiga 1200, and we did this little knock text load down. I said, that might make into a game. And then we just started talking, and with all the stuff that was going on at Sensible, I said, well, why don't we try and get a deal with this? You know, just a publishing deal, see if we can get somebody to give us some money and just finish the game. And it also gives us a way, you know, it gives me a way out of Sensible, so I've got something lined up. And we went round a few publishers, and Telstar were quite interested in it, and they said, well, look, we like the idea, but can you do it as 3D? And we thought, well, okay, yeah, all right. It's like, yeah, okay. And, I mean, neither one of us really sort of thought, well, can we do this? Well, we can get, you know, a few 3D people and that. So, okay, we can do that. And that's how we got into it. And they basically, Telstar, you know, we signed a deal with Telstar. They, you know, gave us an advance. We used that advance to get offices in Braintree. We got a team together. There's a couple of people I knew from Sensible who were just like contracting. So they said they were interested. And we started the whole ball rolling and got the whole, you know, the whole process up and running. We only lasted 3 years, and then it all went down the pan. So it wasn't exactly a long-term prospect. But the game was really taking shape in the final sort of 12 months before Telstar pulled the plug. I mean, Telstar, I think they'd overstretched themselves. I think they'd had too many projects, and they just run out of money, from what I can hear, what I heard at the time. And we just suffered as a result of that. You know, and we were you know, not far off of getting the game sort of at a state where it could be played and finished. So, which is a shame, really, because it was an awful lot of work went into that.
Well, I noticed you did a lot of Game Boy Advance titles later on.
And I did do a few, yes.
Yeah, that must have been a kind of hark back to the old 2D kind of stuff, because, you know, you were put in that small screen format again. And was that enjoyable to do?
It was. I mean, I mean, Abstract, we closed Abstract down, and I had to do something. And I you know, emotionally, I was quite drained. I wasn't in a very good place. And I thought, well, you know, I'm known for doing pixel graphics. I'm known for doing like that kind of style of artwork. A lot of people were still doing 3D. I did a little bit of 3D, but it wasn't really sort of just didn't excite me. And I just, managed to get some work doing some sort of Game Boy games, and I loved it. I absolutely loved the Game Boy Advance. It was a great machine. You had lovely select, palettes. You had a great number of sprites on there. You could do lots and lots of tricks with the tiles, the flipping and all that sort of stuff. Which for a pixel artist like me is just like joy. Being able to do all the colours and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I loved it. Really, really loved it.
Well, because I checked out some of your works on there, and they just look great. They actually look like connected to the Amiga old style. There's a similarity about it. Yeah,
I mean, one of my things I get a bit sort of anal about things like anti-aliasing, which back then, I mean, I don't remember the old, a lot of the Amiga PD stuff. A lot of the graphics are really amateurish, and it was very badly drawn. And I used to think, those graphics are not anti-aliased. How can they call them pixel graphics? They're not anti-aliased. That's not one. And I would be really particular about, I've got to anti-alias all my graphics and make them smooth. Because for me, you're drawing your graphics to make them look smooth on screen and look really, really good quality. So that kind of evolved into sort of a natural process that I do, and I did and I do now. If I do pixel graphics, that when I do it, I always get anti-aliasing in there and smooth it all off. And I suppose I carried that on to when I did the Game Boy stuff. You just naturally do it because it's just part of your drawing and your art style.
Do you prefer working in do you like pixel art 2D or 3D then? What do you prefer?
I actually prefer traditional art, to be honest. I actually prefer doing illustrations and doing like pencil, watercolour. And I don't do a lot of acrylics. I need to get into more acrylic work, but I prefer doing that if I'm brutally honest. But second to that, pixel graphics are fine. To be honest, I do vector art, I do sort of normal digital art with stylus and all that sort of stuff. But I don't. 3D never really sort of got me. I did start getting into it. I did a few sort of. When 3D was becoming the next big thing, I did get into doing low poly models and all that sort of stuff. But I never felt that buzz. I never felt the buzz that I used to get doing pixel graphics. The joy of sitting there and animating a sprite, and you got a character who's walking along, and you get him to animate, and he looks right, and then you get him to do the jumps and all the little bits and pieces you do in the video game. I never got that buzz doing that with 3D characters. So for me, I kind of thought, well, no, this isn't really for me. I'm not enjoying it. And if I don't enjoy it, I'm probably not going to produce the work that shows that I'm enjoying it, If you know what I mean. It's not really, I think if you've got pride in what you're doing, you tend to push yourself more than if you're doing something that you don't really enjoy. It's not going to be quite as good, is it? So, that's why I don't tend to do a lot of 3D stuff.
And I think, if anything, when you look back, in my mind, the kind of early 3D stuff has aged a lot worse than the later Amiga stuff. The 2D stuff. They're really, if you get like an early PlayStation 1 game, they just look compared to like the Amiga graphics.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we did. When we was doing Joe Blow, and we was doing it on PlayStation 1 and PC, and we had a terrible time trying to get the graphics to look good. I mean, we had lots and lots of cool lighting going on. The textures were great, what the guys were doing. I did some of the textures for it. But when you compare it to what you can do now, and then you look back at those titles, you think, God, they look bloody awful. I mean, I find that the 32-bit sort of era games like the Saturn, the PlayStation 1, I think most of them games look rubbish. Yeah. I think they look, because the 3D is not quite mature enough to pull it off. It's impressive at the time because it's like, wow, 3D, this is amazing. All these things spinning around and you're warping in and out, but it wasn't quite good enough to pull that look off where you could say, compare it to what you could see in an arcade at the time, where everything was precise and crisp. I mean, when I look at videos, I watch videos on YouTube now again of people doing reviews of some of these old games, and you think some of the stuff just looks really, really ropey. Whereas when you look to a generation after, like the PS2, even the Dreamcast, Xbox, the first Xbox, they all look okay. They're not obviously as good as now, but they are acceptable. They're much better quality than the first generation of 3D machines. I think it's all down to that horrible pixelized look that a lot of the textures had. It never really works for me, and I think that maybe that was what put me off it. I don't know.
Well, one game you must have enjoyed working on was Alien Hominid on the GBA, because that's totally cartoony. So there was no 3D stuff in there.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I mean, I got the work of doing all the not all of the sprites, but I got the job of taking the animated sprites that they provided the animations for it, and I took those and then turned them into animations for the actual game. And yeah, that was great. But I did a few games like that. It was brilliant, you know. But I'd see the Game Boy Advance was just a lovely little machine, you know. I really because I was a great fan of the SNES. And when we was doing Molotov Man at Sensible, and I was so excited about working on the SNES, you know. And the Game Boy Advance kind of reminded me of the SNES, you know. It was a different machine, but it just reminded me of that, you know. And I just loved it because it had lots of palettes and, you know, lots of play fields and lots of sprites, and it was just lovely, really good.
Well, Stu, it's been amazing getting your memories and finding out, you know, the inside story of some of our favourite games of all time. Great little trip down memory lane there.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you guys. I really enjoyed it.
And what are you up to these days then? What are you currently working on?
I do various bits and pieces. I mean, most of my work is boring at the moment because I'm doing sort of contract work for various people who want to do sort of technical illustrations and stuff like that. But I am sort of, well, I say I am. I'm trying to get a couple of books finished, an illustrated, which I've been working on. And I think that's probably where my direction's going, actually. I'm kind of heading into that direction. But yeah, I mean, I don't tend to do a lot of video game work. I have been doing a game on and off with a friend of mine. We did a game called Blob It Push quite a few years ago, which was a web game and a phone game. And we're kind of bringing that back now, which mainly because we wanted to do another one. We never really got off our backsides to do it. And both of us said, look, you know, we should really just get this finished and to get it out. So we're doing Blob It Push 2 at the moment, which will be out when it's finished, which will be sometime, I suppose. And that'll be on pretty much all the main formats that you can play games on. But yeah, so which is pixel art as well, because I'm doing pixel art again in my spare time, which is quite nice.
Excellent. Well, I think another game people may demand would be Simbrick HD.
Oh, now there you go. There you go. That's a challenge, that.
Wicked chatting to you, Stuart.
No worries. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. Really good.